Unless you like driving 250 miles to your closest water park like people in West Virginia have to do, sometimes you gotta resort to more creative ways of having some water-based fun. Some incredibly smart people have taken on this challenge and have built some insane backyard water slides you won't believe exist. And while having to wait in line for hours and hours for some water slides designed by professionals is awesome, we asked the question, what is the coolest water slide built from home? If you were lucky enough to have a giant hill in your backyard, wouldn't you want to throw a crazy slide onto it? These guys obviously did. It starts up near the roof of their house with what looks like some custom-built scaffolding to get up there. There's a steep drop to build up speed, and then it goes into an actual loop before a jump that plunges the rider into a pool of water. In the world of professional water slides, a loop like this one has only been done very rarely. If you had to guess, this sort of thing is incredibly dangerous, and anytime a water park has tried to build one, it didn't last long. This version of a full loop water slide seems to work pretty well though. They've even taken precautions just in case it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to. Outside of Logan, Utah, there's a secret place that's said to be a redneck oasis, and it's called the Grandpa's Hideaway. This place is filled with fun activities ranging from high dives to zip lines, ATVs to trampolines, and of course, what you're here for, water slides. It's this giant slip and slide style water slide, which basically just amounts to a piece of slippery material thrown onto a big hill in the middle of nowhere in the Utah countryside. Riders start at the top of the hill where they will find a pad that they can ride on if they don't want to risk getting burned by the friction of the ride. They go hurtling down the slide and manage to pick up some pretty considerable speed, even if it does look more than a little bit bumpy. It's pretty obvious that this redneck water slide isn't exactly safe. You could easily topple off either side or overshoot at the end and wipe out on the grass, but that kind of just adds to how cool this water slide is. If we want to talk about giant slip and slides, then we can't avoid talking about the 150-foot mega slip and slide that the YouTube channel Funk Bros made this summer. According to the title of their video, this project cost the group $25,000 to construct, and when you take a look at how crazy it actually is, you could probably believe that would be the case. Every part of the water slide was custom made by the team, up to and including the giant pond that it leads into. They dug a massive pit into the ground and then covered it with blue liner before filling it up with 185,000 gallons of water, and trust me, that's a lot of water. The pond itself took 3 months to create from start to finish, which is a whole load of work to do just for one small pond. The slide starts at the top of the hill and leads straight down to the pond, ending in a pretty big jump made of dirt. The first rider went down the slide headfirst without calculating the speed needed to get over the jump. Luckily, he made it, but it was close, so for future rides, they chose to add just a little bit more soap to get more speed so that doesn't happen again.
Oh my gosh!
There's a reason why most water slides are made of plastic, or if not plastic, a material that is a lot like plastic. It gets slippery easily, and when you ride down it, you probably are not going to end up walking away with some kind of life-changing injury. Wood, on the other hand, well, wood isn't the sort of material that you're going to walk away from without an injury. While wood can get incredibly slippery, it's not exactly safe. Wood is hard, it could splinter, and if you ride a slide made from it, then you're probably going to end up not feeling so good after. That didn't stop the YouTuber Michael Phillips from giving it a try. He and some friends went out to a lake right by some houses and constructed a giant slip and slide, and it was made of wood. Luckily, these guys weren't as stupid as that idea initially sounds, and they padded the wood with a plastic sheet so they didn't have to ride down on the wood itself. That doesn't change the risks from the wood potentially breaking under the strain of people riding down it though. It also doesn't take away how hard the wood would have been either. And yeah, they knew how crazy this was because they ended up calling it the slip and bleed. You might think that the longest water slide in the world might have been a part of an official water park or something like that, but no, it was actually constructed by the Live More Awesome charity, a charity based around mental health in New Zealand in 2015. They went out to Jonkers Farm in New Zealand and threw up the world's longest water slide, which took riders 90 whole seconds to get down. The ride itself was 600 meters long and even featured a 110 meters drop. The fully inflatable ride took its riders across the grassy hills of New Zealand's countryside. That's probably why there's a big splash pool at the end to slow you down quickly, otherwise you just end up sliding down the hills of New Zealand forever. When you think of a halfpipe, the first thing you probably think of is Tony Hawk doing some crazy skateboarding trick, but in this case we have a slide that is literally made out of half a pipe. The guy who built this slide managed to get 80 inches of what seems to be PVC pipe together, which he laid out down a hill and out into a nearby lake. A slide made out of plastic pipe like this sounds like an insane idea, but PVC piping is made to be incredibly strong. It's one of the most widely used piping in the world and is perfect for this sort of thing. Not only do the kids rocket down the piping at incredibly fast speeds, it seems to be just the right width to fit them. You'd think that this slide would fall apart on the first ride, but it seems to hold up pretty well. If you live on Maui, which is an island in Hawaii, then you have some incredible weather. It's the second largest of the Hawaiian Islands and is filled to the brim with incredible sights and locations. So if you find yourself with a pond at the bottom of your backyard with a massive hill in front of it, then you might have the idea of building a water slide yourself. And yeah, that's exactly what this guy Adrian did. It looks like he dug a slight way into the hill, following it down along a curve to the pond at the bottom, so that he could ride to his destination without the fear of sliding off. The slide itself seems to just be made of some kind of plastic sheeting that stretches the complete length of the slide. The slide isn't exactly long or crazy, but it takes the rider through some really nice scenery and is a super impressive build for a single guy. The slope also gets pretty steep toward the end, sending the rider crashing into the pool at some fairly high speeds. The Little Bear Bottoms Corn Maze is a family farm that primarily grows corn and allows people to explore their corn maze. But in the summer, exploring mazes of corn isn't popular, so huge homemade water slide. This homemade slide is all about speed. It feels like the owners of Little Bear Bottoms found the steepest hill they could when making the slide, because when you ride it, you shoot down at incredible speeds. In fact, some people have even estimated that people riding on the slide can actually get up to 30 miles per hour while going down it. This is a rare homemade slide in the fact that it doesn't end in a pool or anything else like that. The slide just stretches out onto a field and lets you slow down naturally. The only thing is, you're going down incredibly quick, so the slide ends up stretching out over the entire field, and if you don't stop by then, you're going straight into mud. Roman Atwood is well known for his insane vlogs and projects. When he commits to something, he's probably gonna go pretty hard on it. The water slide he built in the summer of 2018 is a great example. Roman started building his slide by laying some piping down the sides of a wooden ramp he already had out in his backyard. Now, because sliding down on something made of wood would be insane, Roman put some thick padding down to make the slide super soft instead of hard and incredibly painful. After that, he grabbed some thick vinyl which he laid down on top of the padding, so it was actually functional as a slide. He also laid some extra piping down into the pond with some generators and pumps to push water up the stairs and then back down the slide itself. After the vinyl was finished and the piping was laid out, the slide was fully complete, and it ended up coming out pretty well, even if it was more complicated than Roman expected it to be. The whole point of the slide was to try and get from the top all the way to the pond at the end of the vinyl, though that did seem to be pretty difficult to do until Roman brought out the inflatables. That seemed to help shoot the riders straight into the pond at the end. Roman even ended up using a surfboard, which he managed to stand up on and ride all the way into the pool. Not every water slide is going to work out exactly how you want it to. Let's be fair, there's a lot that could go wrong when you make your own water slide. You could fall off it could break as you go down it, or if you have a jump involved, you could end up completely missing your target. We'll get into that. The water slide itself is actually fairly impressive looking. The structure itself is made completely from wood, and it's pretty steep and tall with a jump at the end. Now, with most jumps we've seen on this list, there's a big pond or lake for people to land in. You can't really miss a big pond or a lake, but you can miss a small round inflatable pool, and that's the only thing this poor French kid has to aim for. Yeah, the slide works perfectly, accelerating the kid to insane speeds in mere seconds. The jump works perfectly too, sending him soaring up into the air. Unfortunately for the kid, everything is working just a little bit too perfectly. Ooh, instead of falling safely down into the pool as the design of the slide and jump intends, he misses it completely. The kid comes crashing down heavily on his back, which seriously looks like it hurts. Luckily, his dog comes rushing down to see if he's okay, and by the way, he gets up safe, so it's mostly fine. What's really funny about this fail is that the kid totally could have landed this jump if he somehow managed to get his legs down instead of flying through the air with them above his head. He just missed it. But hey, check out this video if you want to see the best water slides in the world built by professionals. I'll see you guys there.